going to hear from the two individuals that are here with us every single year, and they have contributed to what we are taking advantage of and enjoying the fruits of, and prayerfully as we leave here, helping to grow our communities, to grow our households, to get into the self-sovereignty that they both wished for us. And so we're going to have this conversation today. And the topic is Bitcoin and DeFi roles in the Black economic empowerment. I'm going to call it a movement, ladies and gentlemen. And that is where we sit today. So first and foremost, I'm going to start it off with the father of DeFi, Mr. Reggie Middleton. I know you have more things that you're doing, and you all, I pay homage to these brothers because you all do not really understand the sacrifices that it has taken to really just get to this point in life, and not for the accolades, because both of these brothers are humble about what they do. But when we walk into spaces and conferences across this country, somebody asks, where else can we go to study? Ladies and gentlemen, I am sick and tired of seeing 10 of us in a room at these huge conferences and 6 of us are serving the food. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to show up and show out, because we are the Black excellence and the Black brilliance that this world has taken advantage of. And we need to understand that. So I'm going to start with Reggie. I'm going to start preaching because I'm all on the Black power thing today. Because this got to happen. So Reggie, just really introduce yourself. I know you are the CEO of Vertasium. You got a bunch of stuff going on. Tell us a little bit more about you, and then we'll get into, we'll let you deal with DeFi, and I'm going to let Lamar deal with Bitcoin, who is my teacher in this space. Let's give him a hand.
Was that an introduction or what? So my name is Reggie Middleton. I got into the space about 2013. Before then, I was an investor. I did finance, real estate. I called big collapses. I predicted Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, real estate property crash, commercial crash. There's one coming right now. Pay attention. And my primary job is a father. I have 2 of my 3 children here. The third one is on his way in from St. Thomas, so hopefully he'll get here before I finish speaking. And my second job is basically supporting my first job. Teaching them, teaching myself, learning, and attempting to change the socioeconomic structure of the world where they have equal opportunity for success. Not equal success, but equal opportunity, right? With equal opportunity, then the best rise to the top and the rest fall. That's not the way it is the way I grew up. That I could guarantee you. So that's my introduction.
All right, thank you for that. And next we have Lamar Wilson, the Black Bitcoin billionaire. Most of us learned and got educated. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I heard about Bitcoin, I don't know how many times, lost Bitcoin, didn't understand it, until I heard this man it was way before COVID, but heard this man really explain what Bitcoin was about and got an epiphany that we could close the freaking wealth gap if we just got it together. And so, Lamar Wilson, tell us what you are doing and who you are. Let's just go down.
My name is Lamar Wilson. I am a Black Blockchain Summit alum. I have been here, I think, since the very first one. So shout out to Sinclair Skinner and the team, John, everybody who keeps this thing going. Lamar Wilson founded Black Bitcoin Billionaire. I created one of the first wallets, iOS wallets. It wasn't the first. Satoshi built the first wallet, but it was one of the first iOS wallets. And I'm just happy to be here. I'm all about empowerment. Many of the systems and structures that we have are made to be in power over you. And Bitcoin allows you to be empowered. And so if you ever hear me speak about anything, it's always about empowering other people and empowering my people so that we can all be on a better playing field when it's out here in these streets, so to speak. So. She lost her mic.
I keep turning it off. I'm sorry, because they make me drop the mic, y'all. All right, so our topic is DeFi's role in the Black economic empowerment movement. What do you really feel are those that are just learning? I mean, we all hear DeFi, we all hear decentralization. How do you feel that DeFi is going to play a role in the economic empowerment of the Black community specifically?
So I'm going to piss y'all all off. I'm going to go way off topic in the beginning. So let's go through some semantics. Technology, DeFi is technology. Technology is a scientific application of things for the betterment of man and make yourself better, etc. Technology has always been around. From the first time someone made a wheel or discovered how to put water in a container and pick it up to drink, all the way fast forward to generative AI and everywhere in between. There's always technology, okay? To benefit from technology, you have to have knowledge, right? Any old school hip hop heads here? Yes, sir. KRS, what's KRS? KRS-One, what's that stand for?
Knowledge reigns supreme.
Knowledge reigns supreme, that's right. Without the knowledge, technology does nothing for you, period. Technology is simply a tool, okay, and all the different myriad steps of technology, from integrated circuits to AI to DLT, blockchain, etc. They're simply tools that assist the knowledgeable and the driven. You have to combine those to take advantage of those who don't have access. So DeFi in itself is not going to empower Black people, just like integrated circuits that empower Black people, or smartphones, or telephones, or anything else. You know what empowers Black people? The same thing empowers everybody else: knowledge and drive. Over time, you combine those bring you to the top. So once it comes to DeFi, and I do believe I invented DeFi, at least functional DeFi, 2013. I have 5 patents issued thus far, 2 in the US, 3 in Japan. Thank you. And it is my belief these are very powerful patents, foundational patents. They've been challenged by the biggest company in the industry in the US, second biggest in the world, by very prominent, the most prominent law firm. We withstood it, we beat them back, we won. Okay, we won their attempt for an appeal. This is real stuff. The patents are the foundation, the infrastructure that makes everything else work. So to benefit Black people, and when I say Black people, that's a broad topic, but I'm not going to get into that now, right? To benefit that demographic, you have to own the infrastructure. The infrastructure is not 15 Solana. The infrastructure is what allows Solana to work and function. If you own what allows Solana or Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything else to function, you own it by default. For instance, I'm from New York, okay? You take the island of Manhattan, very valuable. You can own the Empire State Building, which would make most people wealthy beyond belief. At least that's what they would feel, okay? Or you can own the island of Manhattan. If you own the island, you control access in and off the island. You control everybody who's on the island. You control everything that's built. If you had a choice of owning the Empire State Building, which most people would say, I'm wealthy for life, multiple generations, or you own the island of Manhattan, which would you choose? Same thing with the technology. Infrastructure ownership is the key. And to own the infrastructure, KRS, okay? I don't want to hog the mic, because I know we have a long history going back and forth. This should be interesting.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. All right, so Lamar, how do you see Bitcoin specifically, because I know you are a Bitcoin only. For those of you who do not know, we have an absolute Bitcoiner here. So we're not talking about XRP, we're not talking about Elephant Coin, we ain't talking about Trump Coin, we ain't talking about Kamala Harris Coin, we talking about Bitcoin. So can you tell us how Bitcoin specifically is going to empower the economic engine and revolution that needs to happen or is going to happen in the Black community through your eyes?
Yeah, so Bitcoin has several properties that make it valuable as money. And I think a lot of people don't understand how that is. But I heard Reggie bring up even Manhattan, and one of the properties of Bitcoin is that it's provably limited. Therefore, the reason why you want Manhattan is because there's only one Manhattan, right? Bitcoin, there'll only be 21 million Bitcoin ever. And so owning a piece of that Bitcoin, a piece of a Bitcoin, is going to be something that's huge across the entire globe because there will only be 21. There's more millionaires in the world than there are Bitcoin, period. But to hit it home, the reason why I think that Bitcoin is a great asset to empower African Americans is because, like right now, I'm working with my business partner back home, and we're trying to do this thing called buying Granny's house back. Because if we know, I was down in off of 9th Street, and a young lady from D.C. was walking me around saying that a lot of these brownstones and stuff, even in D.C., were owned by black people back in the day, and a lot of them aren't anymore. There's a young lady in my community we're trying to work with her now. She has her grandmother's house. It's completely paid for, but of course it is kind of running down. And guess what? The bank won't give her money for it. Now think, you have this asset that can be used as collateral, right? She owns it outright. Her grandmother died, left it to her, but she can't get the money to fix it up. So what do you think is going to happen to that house over time? It's going to continue to degrade as the house next to her house has already been bought and sold and gentrified. Her house is continue to just keep falling apart. So we're trying to figure out ways for her to be able to get the house without, because we don't want to take over ownership or nothing like that. We're trying to make sure that she can get her house back, right? But the bank's not helping her at all. That's the kind of system that it creates a barrier for entry for a lot of people to get in the game, period. But with Bitcoin, my little old self on a street called Georgetown Street in Lexington, Kentucky, which if you say Georgetown Street in my community, they're going to say that's the hood. Like crackheads on the corner, like real talk, right? On that street, on Georgetown Street, I was telling people about Bitcoin back in 2012, 11. Right? And couldn't nobody stop them from buying it. They could go to a McDonald's, a Starbucks, pick up the Bitcoin, hold on to the Bitcoin. Nobody's going to take it from them. Nobody's going to steal it from them. If they understand how to handle their wallet, guess what? They own that Bitcoin, and if they want to pass it down, they pass the keys down to their grandkids, and guess what? Nobody's going to tell them they can't do nothing with it. Because as you can see, now we're starting to be able to use Bitcoin for collateral and things. So what other asset have you been able to do that with in the history of mankind, especially for black folk? We built Tulsa, they burned it down. Farmland, millions of acres, the USDA stole from black people. Y'all understanding what I'm saying? But Bitcoin, they can't take your Bitcoin. If you know what you're doing with your Bitcoin, they cannot take your Bitcoin. They can't. They can't get it. So for me, that's if you have an asset that cannot be absconded by government, by thieves, by swindlers, then now you have an asset that you can actually start to build upon and build more economic wealth for your community.
Absolutely. So I just want to say the premise behind decentralized finance is sovereignty, self-sovereignty, right, at its core. Why is it important for the black community to understand how DeFi really taps into the self-sovereign state that we need to be in order to excel from your point of view?
Well, self-sovereignty, just to be clear, is control, ownership over self. Pretty much like what Lamar inferred, or if he didn't say it directly, my ancestors, I didn't come over on the Santa Maria. I didn't come over through Ellis Island. My ancestors didn't. We came over in the bottom of a ship from the west coast of Africa, the Gold Coast, over to South Carolina, and then worked our way up. We owned nothing but ourselves. And some of that was taken from, even the identity was stripped. In order for you to excel, you have to own something. Asset ownership is how you excel. Okay, which is why I was discussing DeFi and technology in general, you have to own infrastructure. You can't own infrastructure if you don't own anything. Okay? The reason why black people in the US have been able to be suppressed is because they withheld ownership of assets. Right? Now, I'm getting into like a little history lesson, so pardon me, okay? So after Jim Crow, you had some ownership, okay? And that ownership seemed threatening, so they restricted that. Even after civil rights, right? You have an increase in rights, but the ownership of productive assets has always been sparse. Productive assets are assets that make more assets for you. So when you put your money in something, everything you do is an investment. You might not think so. You know, you put money in the gas tank of your car, you're investing. If you part with something of value, you're investing. Even if you flush it down the toilet. It's called a bad investment, but you did it, okay? Every time you part with something, you need to get something plus something else back. When you do that, that something plus something that makes you wealthier is a good investment. If it stays on par, it's a bad investment. And if it dips down, it's a worse investment. But there's other things that come into play too. So in order to get a good investment, you have to have more. That means you have to have a nominal return, 10%. You invest $100, you got a 10% return, you have $110. But you have to pay taxes on that. Take 35% off of that. You have to beat inflation. Anywhere between 2 or 3%, if you listen to the Fed, to 18, 20% if you actually take a piece of paper and pencil and write it down. So you have to beat inflation, you have to beat taxes, then you have to beat the opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is, well, instead of buying these Air Jordans, suppose I would have bought half a Bitcoin. Back when Bitcoin was about $120 when I got into it. A half a Bitcoin is about, what, about a third of a pair of Air Jordans, roughly. Okay, fast forward half the age of my daughter, your Air Jordans would be worth what? How much could you get used Air Jordans for from 2013?
Depends on what Air Jordans they are. They do have a little value. There's
some
sneakerhead in here that knows they.
So I'll tell you what.
I don't know what it is.
I wouldn't pay anything for used Air Jordans. Let's say you get $600 for it. $600 for Air Jordans. Bitcoin from $120 to right now about 63,000.
63, yeah.
Right? One was an investment that actually made you, especially if you bought more than one Bitcoin. Instead of one Bitcoin, imagine you bought 10 of them. Imagine you bought 1,000 Bitcoin. 1,000 Bitcoin back then, I can't even do the math on it, gives you 6 million?
Million?
Yeah. Off of $120,000 investment. 1,000 Air Jordans. So I'm just running through the math because every time you invest in something, you have to overcome every bar that makes you poor. Inflation, taxes, opportunity costs. Most people don't think like that. When you use that bar, most investments still make you poor. It's very hard to make money in stocks right now, even in real estate. I graduated from Howard. I came here in 1985. Okay, I graduated 89-ish, 90-ish, roundabout-ish. Okay, if you would have bought real estate right around here before gentrification, because this whole neighborhood was black when I was here, you thought you would have done very, very well because you paid roughly, $60,000 for a house? I think right now they're probably going for about, $1.8 million each, roughly? You think that's good money, right? Is it? Yes? No? Okay. But if everybody else is making the exact same thing, are you getting wealthier or are you staying the same? Okay? Factor in inflation, factor in taxes, factor in opportunity costs. Okay? The only way for you to get wealthier is what? How can you tell if you're wealthy? Quickly. How can you tell if you're wealthy?
How can you tell if you're wealthier?
Yeah. How do you
have more time?
Say it again?
If you have more time.
If everybody else around you is poor.
Yeah. If you have more time than the people around you to do what you want, you're wealthy.
Two different sides of the same coin.
Well, you know what? I said I was going to stay out of this conversation, but he touched on something, and I'm going to ask Lamar a question. He talked about if you had just invested that little bit of money in Bitcoin back then, what it would be today. There is no other asset class, ladies and gentlemen, out there that you can invest in that will bring you what has transpired in front of our very eyes. Today, I know most of you think that Bitcoin is out of reach because he just said it's $60,000. But this gentleman did something very incredible right after COVID. He taught us all how to be millionaires, Satoshi millionaires. Now, arguably, I know a lot of people do with a lot of other coins. He taught us how to understand that just like there are 100 pennies in a dollar, there are 1,000,000 Satoshis in a Bitcoin.
Yeah,
100 million. 100 million Satoshis in a Bitcoin. So he taught us to become Satoshi millionaires. So we stopped looking at that $63,000 and said, hey, $630? I can be a Satoshi millionaire? Because when the price of Satoshis go up with the price of Bitcoin, I have put my family in a better place. So instead of buying those $600 Jordans, I'm going to tell y'all what to do. Y'all want to hear a secret? I wasn't supposed to talk about that, but since our black folks and y'all got kids that y'all running and paying $2 and $3 and $4 and $600 for Jordan, and he mentioned Jordan, not me, but I be on one about Jordan because he ain't did nothing for us. Go to DH Gate and buy your kids some Jordans for $24. They come out and they look exactly the same. How do I know? I'm on TV. All of my kids rock 7 different colors of Jordans in school, and they came off DH Gate. I spent $24 on Jordans and the other $200 on their Bitcoin. Because you're able to save and invest in that. DH Gate. I'm not lying to y'all. Y'all better get it before they cut them off, because they're trying to cut them off, because it's the same people that make Jordan. But with that, Lamar,
yes, ma'am.
How have you been able in the black community to take these hard concepts and break them down where people can really understand the power of just small amounts of Bitcoin to succeed? And we watch you. You and your wife travel all over the world. When you came to the stage, this sister said right here, oh, he got some money because he chilling. So we want to know how to be a black Bitcoin billionaire. And again, you all can do your coins. Y'all can play the lotto. But we in our community have got to stop thinking about getting rich quick. We got to think long game. We got to stop playing chess. I used to say stop playing chess and play checkers, but I'm telling y'all, because I follow money every single day, they are lying to you, they are lying to you, and they are lying to you. Every report that they put out about money in this country gets altered and changed within about a week or two. And I learned this because I started studying my radio show. I had to report on the jobs reports. But when I would go back and look at the jobs reports, it would be something different than what they told us in public. They are lying. We have got to save, invest, protect yourself with patents. Whatever you're putting out here, it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to do it. But how do you take these simple understanding of Bitcoin and get our folks out of this freaking get rich quick? Oh, I was going to say, we're not playing chess and we're not playing checkers no more. It's time for game theory. Game theory. And so how do we do that?
Yeah, so, Miss Naja got me hyped. No, but what we try to do is just bring it to a level that everybody understands. Because at the end of the day, these get-rich-quick schemes, everything that's going on, these tokens that people are trying to get you into and all of that, a lot of times, probably 99% of the time, they're going to lead to a dead end. And so a lot of times when the market's going crazy, I get a lot of people cussing me out, telling me, Lamar, why you just telling me Bitcoin, XRP's making all this money, and all these other ones are making all this money. But the tried and true is that once you find something of value, you understand its value. It don't even have to just be Bitcoin. Whatever you define as value, you find it. Then what you need to do is invest in that. And make sure, like Reggie said, look at the opportunity cost, because there's opportunity cost of you investing in that versus something else. So you have to have knowledge about what it is that you're investing in. And once you get that knowledge, then you can put your money up. I don't recommend anybody buy Bitcoin. I recommend everybody learn about Bitcoin. And if you feel compelled to buy Bitcoin, then you buy Bitcoin. But hopefully I can help you to understand it at a level that you can get all of the knowledge that you need to make a decision. Because that's all it winds up being at the end of the day. Reggie don't know. I agree with him when he talks about infrastructure and distribution. Anybody that ever heard me talk, it's not, listen, black folk, we are always the product, right? We the singer, we the hooper, right? We always we always have the product. We create things. The problem is that we don't own distribution. We don't own the infrastructure to be able to get the product out to the people. And so what winds up happening is the actual distribution channels wind up taking most of the value out before it gets to the end user in the first place, and before it actually gets back to the creator, right? And so when Reggie says that, I might not agree with him on, the use of certain chains and those kind of things for it, but I'm all for Reggie building whatever he wants, and he knows that. I'm all for Reggie building everything that he wants to build. I hope when the NFT game was going, everybody knows I don't put any dime into NFTs. But if you want to make an NFT, make an NFT. I'd rather you be the producer of an NFT than the consumer of an NFT. See, that's the thing. It's all about production. Wealth is in the production, not in the consumption, period. So that's how I feel, and hopefully we can continue these types of talks and make people understand that because we are such great creators, because we are the people that build and make things, that once we start to understand the infrastructure, as Reggie's talking about, sky is the limit, but we got to do it. So.
All right, well, thank you for that. We have the father of DeFi here. We have the Black Bitcoin billionaire here. Are there any questions? Because we have just about 5 or 6 more minutes. If you have a question, please step to the mic really quickly. And we're going to take a couple of questions, and we're going to be mindful of everyone's time.
Hi, guys. First, I would like to say thank you so much for hosting this event. I feel incredibly grateful and honored. I feel incredibly grateful and honored to have had the opportunity to attend here and contribute by with my time and learning from you guys and with the conversations. I wanted to understand. I'm Philip Ronald Ginda. I go by Ronald. I am a student at Howard University studying financial economics with a minor in mathematics, and I was born and raised in Cameroon. My biggest concern, or at least some of the concern that I've been getting when talking with people, is we're in a place where we have blockchains, we have cryptocurrency, and oftentimes Black people are left from conversations that are impacting us. And I'm thinking about, generational wealth and how can we set our community for success, and not just from education, but actually having them create things or better companies and stuff like that. And so I wanted to understand how do you guys feel? Sorry, I have the question here. So can you discuss the potential economic implications of things like wealth transfer and how not having access to knowledge like cryptocurrency, and how that can impact, I guess, the further divide that we have, within Black communities? Maybe another follow-up to this question is what challenges or risks do you foresee with the large influx of wealth into cryptocurrency sector, how that might affect the landscape of financial markets?
I think I'll answer your first question. The good book says, if you seek, you shall find. And I think the issue is that a lot of us don't seek. We're not actually seeking to figure out these things. I think what happens is we get enamored with the people who have the Bentley, have the nice outfit. We follow them, and then we listen to what they're saying, and without any other knowledge, right? And we just follow along without understanding what it is they're talking about. And what happens is that a lot of times we want to get out of our situation fast. And I just want to let everybody in here know, Generational wealth means generational wealth. It don't mean wealth for you in your lifetime. Like, because like you got to understand, some of us we don't come from a whole lot, period. And compound interest is still compound interest. You understand what I'm saying? But it's the principles that we have to instill in ourselves and then into our children so that we learn how to compound that interest so that our generations can actually benefit from it. You might not see the tree that you planted, but that tree could feed your family for the rest of eternity, so to speak, right? We just have to understand that and stop trying to be so rich in ourselves, and we want to ball out and show everybody we balling out. When the truth is, it's like this whole game is about patience, and that's why like Bitcoin is patience. If y'all see me, I always say Bitcoin and chill. I don't know what else to tell you. It's boring. Like, it's boring. Buy some Bitcoin and chill. It's that simple, right? So that's hopefully I answered your first question. The second question, I'll let my man Reggie take it.
So I hear the generational wealth meme, and a lot of people look at one thing but call it the other. So generational wealth is not going to put black people in the pilot seat. Dynastic wealth is what you should be saying. If you look at the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, that's dynastic wealth. You don't count in generations. Generations are like years in dynastic wealth. Look at dynasties. Right. You could go to Africa. There's dynastic wealth in Africa. You know, they don't walk around parading it, but it's wealth that lasts many, many generations, over a century. Okay, Rothschilds in the U.S., Rockefellers, etc. So generational wealth sounds cool because you hear it on TikTok and etc. But that's not where you should be aiming. You aim for dynastic wealth. Let's suppose you miss. You fall on generational wealth. Just a to-do. Now, as for the other question, how I'm going to paraphrase. How does financialization affect Bitcoin and etc.? Was that the second part of the question?
Yes. How does financialization affect Bitcoin and how would that? Yeah, essentially.
Okay,
how does
so
it affect
I'm going to
Bitcoin
shoot just to save time. So Bitcoin and the DLT, distributed ledger technology itself, are two different things, two different topics. Even Bitcoin itself, you have Bitcoin, uppercase B, which is the actual technology and infrastructure, or Bitcoin, lowercase b, which is the little things that you see when you look at CNBC and the price goes up and down. So your question is a bit too involved to answer completely and accurately, so I'm going to take the little case B, which I think everybody's interested in, even though I think it's a mistake. So Bitcoin has been financialized. As a matter of fact, I could let ChatGPT answer that. You want me to hear it answer, or you want ChatGPT to do it? Okay. Because you know something? I'm going to show you. I've been doing this so long that I actually knew you were going to ask that question, and I have it answered already. So does everybody realize that BlackRock created a Bitcoin ETF?
Yes.
Okay, and BlackRock is a $23 trillion asset manager. And BlackRock is going balls to the wall, right? Marketing, putting money in, etc. Listen carefully.
BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF includes several prominent authorized participants, APs, such as JP Morgan, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, UBS, and Jane Street. These financial institutions play a key role in creating and redeeming shares of the ETF, and given their close involvement with BlackRock, they may indeed face risks of induced contributory or direct patent infringement. This risk arises due to their reliance on Coinbase's multi-party computation, MPC, technology for cold storage custody, which could potentially infringe on patents held by Veritasium or Enchain. The ETF prospectus does not appear to provide adequate disclosure of these potential patent infringement risks, exposing these participants to significant legal liabilities if Coinbase's technology infringes upon these patents. 4T source, 5th source, 16th source, 17th source.
Okay, so first of all,
if y'all didn't hear that, let me just paraphrase. Siri AI just told him that Coinbase, BlackRock, and all those people are infringing on his patent. So let's let's start there.
Okay, hold up.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so when you ask ChatGPT a question, sort of a wild card, I'm not saying anybody infringes on my patent, okay? So, and I'm not saying that, okay? I gave ChatGPT a query, but it's not a secret. I sued Coinbase, or one of my companies sued Coinbase, okay? My attorney died mid-suit, I withdrew it. Coinbase then came after us, okay? And they tried to invalidate the patent at the PTAB, which is the USPTO, the Patent Office's trial. We beat Coinbase. And they asked for a re-argument, which is a request for an appeal. We beat them at that as well. I said this because what Coinbase is doing is storing Bitcoin and Ethereum for BlackRock. BlackRock has quickly amassed the largest collection of Bitcoin in the world. They did it in months, okay? BlackRock is selling it to entities as an investment. Bitcoin is a technology. When they sell it as an investment to pension funds and hedge funds and large investors and small investors, they financialize Bitcoin. And so when the market drops, I'm going to give you a scenario with the market dropping. Go to New York, you look at the big luxury shopping areas, you have vacancies everywhere. DC, Miami, LA, Chicago, all these big areas. When you have vacancies in commercial real estate, does the mortgage get paid? No. The mortgage doesn't get paid. You default on the mortgage. Banks lose money. When banks lose money, then their stock goes down. They restrict credit. They don't lend out for houses. Housing prices go down, so you can't afford as much. Then the stocks go down. When the stock prices go down, right, people start to sell Bitcoin. They either lock in profits, cover margin calls, or stop losing money. When you sell Bitcoin, the price goes down. When I got into Bitcoin, Bitcoin had no correlation whatsoever to stocks, bonds, real estate, or anything else, because it was a technology. Now Bitcoin's correlation is almost lockstep. It's artificially combined with stocks, bonds, and everything else. That's the result of financialization, to the brother that asked the question. But you have to think through.
Well, thank you very much. Sir, this is the last question. This is the end of the conference. Let's end strong. They told me 6:25 and it's 6:25. I want to come back next year. So, yes, go ahead, ask your question. You've been standing there.
Hello, my name is Kwawi Rucker. I am a master's student here at Howard studying economics. That's my classmate right there.
All right.
But so I heard you mention that in Bitcoin, there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin that is in circulation. And my interest is monetary policy and fiscal policy because, Federal Reserves back currencies. I would understand better how
can everybody get some if there's a limited amount?
Not necessarily, but how are cryptocurrencies backed to make them valuable, Or
You're saying what are cryptocurrencies backed by? Yeah. First, before they answer, let me just say kudos to you for being here.
How does it hold value?
I appreciate it.
Good question. So
great question.
I have a finance degree as well, right? So I understand economics and all those things. The thing about Bitcoin is right now it is backed by the energy that is put into the network. And there are miners all over the globe that are buying electricity, right, to secure the network. And that electricity has to be bought so that they can actually mine and get the actual Bitcoin back. So just like with gold, what backs gold, right, at the end of the day? How many people here got on something gold? I ask this every time because it used to be people have on stuff gold, but nobody hardly wears gold no more, but yet gold has a market price, correct? So if you think about it, it's the energy, it's the amount of security and everything that's going into the network that winds up providing a value back because those miners have to get money so they can actually pay for the actual mining, the inputs to actually get the Bitcoin back. So that's the easy way to go about it. The other way is that how many people here have Bitcoin though? Exactly. When I said gold, nobody raised their hand. When I said Bitcoin. So another thing that provides value is the fact that people in here have it. Like, people want it, right? All the way around the globe, all the way to Nigeria, to Singapore, whatever. So at the end of the day, the technology itself provides for you to establish what that value is for yourself. And that value has to come from you understanding how the technology works, right? So.
All right, well, thank you for that question. And again, to you brothers, kudos to you for being students here at Howard. You in your master's program. You're in your master's program. Keep up the good work. You are the reason we're here. We appreciate you all. And thank you to everyone that stuck it out. And I know that, Mr. Karinga, are you coming behind me? Or, well, let's give them a hand. And thank you all for this incredible, incredible conference.